So, Pragmata is out, and this has to be one of the coolest games I've seen from Capcom in a long time. I think for me specifically, I've always thought of Capcom as being strong with their existing IPs, right? You have Resident Evil, you have Monster Hunter, you have other things like Dead Rising, and probably one of my favorite ones of all time is Devil May Cry. Still hoping for a DMC6, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen for a good while. But when a new and original IP finally came out, I was a little hesitant as someone who is a little disgruntled by the state of like new games always being either crap or bad, or either being good or bad. But thankfully, for the most part, most games for the past couple of years have been really good. But for something from Capcom to produce a game of this caliber is exactly the amount of fun I was hoping to get from it. Pragmata is essentially a third-person shooter, but it blends a very interesting hybridization of being a puzzle shooter, as I like to call it. Not to mention, it has a very fun story that I don't think is really perfect per se, but it's wholesome enough that I love Hugh and Diana, and they are one of the most adorable father-daughter relationships I've seen in a video game for a while, and on the more wholesome and like fun side to boot. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun, and I kind of wanted to talk about what exactly is it that made this game particularly fun for me, and why it might be a good fit for you. With the story of Pragmata, it's set in I call it the distant future, but it seems plausible enough to be kind of near future, where it's just out of reach, but still conceptually possible. Hugh comes from the Delphi Corporation, where he is essentially a engineer that's going to the moon to check out their I think it's a production facility, but basically he's going there to take a look at why the communications between Lua and Earth were lost. As he's trying to get a basis with his team for where they're trying to go, unfortunately, and as most video game plots tend to happen, or for adventure, things aren't quite what they seem, and his team unfortunately splits up, and Hugh is left alone. But he comes across this very, very adorable AI bot, or as they call themselves, Pragmata, whose name is Diana, and she has got to be, again, one of the most adorable characters I've ever seen since, I can't really think of another adorable character I've seen in a while. At first, it's a little weird because I think Hugh and Diana kind of hit it off. It's almost uncanny how much they fit each other.
Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana.
Diana?
Diana!
But over time, I've gotten used to it. Hugh being Hugh, basically like a very charismatic dad who is trying to teach Diana the ways of the world.
Those are butterflies. Not sure what kind, though.
They drink nectar, right?
Yeah, stuff's pretty sweet.
While Diana is this super-powered AI bot who is capable of doing millions and millions of calculations at light speed, but is still adorable enough to to not know how to dribble a ball and will throw it at Hugh's face.
Cats!
So it's fun. Their dynamic is incredible and wholesome, and I just love I love their personalities. Their caricature is great. As for the actual story of them, and of course, in the actual story, you have them trying to figure out what's going on with the facility and why it's currently the way it is. And so that's essentially their adventure. But when it comes to that actual plot point, it's more or less all right for me in terms of just the story progression. It's nothing really, I'd say, groundbreaking, but enough. It's fun enough that it establishes the connectional story of Hugh and Diana. One of the things I didn't really cater too much, I wouldn't say as too much, was just the antagonist of the story. I think their reasons for being the antagonist makes sense, but it's just unfortunate that it couldn't be anything more. Without trying to spoil too much, I'm not going to reveal the actual character. I won't say anything more than that. Again, overall the story is great and I love it. I just wish the villain was... I wanted a better reason why they should be the villain. As for the just overall story points and seeing from beginning to end, the fun factor will always be Diana and Hugh for me. To the point that I was very sad to actually see it end because of how just father daughter they are. And I think what also makes it really cool is how some of the gameplay elements incorporate into it, rather than just having, for the most part, a lot of it is cutscenes that you see with Hugh and Diana. One of the fun moments I've seen is when they defeat one of the bosses and they have like a little celebratory moment, and it's just them being very organic. But when you have some other gameplay segments where you're doing mini games or doing collectathons to get upgrades and such, I think the cutest thing is when you're trying to get these things called REMs, which are the Earth memories that replicate things that you'd find on Earth. So some of them include like a slide, for example, or a basketball that Diana can play. And it is just one of the most adorable moments when she just realizes, when she discovers what they are and what they do. And it's cute when you see her do it, like dribble a ball or try to dribble a ball, catch bugs and such. And then she has a conversation with Hugh after, where it's just them like discussing like, oh, the curiosities of what this would be on Earth, and like, did Hugh ever do these things or stuff like that, basically. And it's just cute, to the point that normally when you do these, you get some upgrades to use for the weapons. But just me, for me, my personal engagement was to literally just get these for Diana. Like that's how motivated I was to just do it for her and not so much for my own personal gain. But I mean, these type of mechanics will depend on how invested you are. But I was happy that Diana is the main reason I did these mini games, and it just made for so much more fun and engaging plot points for me to go through. So story's good. I like it. I enjoyed it. Again, not perfect, but something that I kind of want to experience again. And Hugh and Diana are the characters and personalities that make it for me. So if not story, gameplay is arguably the best reason to play this game. I mean, gameplay is usually important for any video game, right? But it's interesting for Pragmata because it puts its style and gameplay mechanics on its sleeve, and it wears it proudly that it's so good. It's essentially a shooting puzzle minigame where you have to defeat various robots by basically, well, just shooting them. But in order to actually defeat them and to do any type of meaningful damage, you have to hack them to open them up to let your bullets actually do something. Because if you don't, you do negligible damage. But what's cool about the hacking system is that it's this connecting game that you have to connect points and open up the robots. And what makes it very interesting is how you don't actually like pause time or anything. This minigame happens on the fly. And so you have to actually do what I like to call a juggling act of shooting the robots after hacking them, but also trying to survive. Hugh and, to an extent, I guess, Diana, they can't really take a lot of hits, at least on standard difficulty. Hugh, maybe at the beginning of the game, Hugh will literally go down in about like 3 or 4 hits. So you have to manage your health. You also get healing items too. You have to manage your hacking. You have to manage when to use your bullets. And so it creates this really fun, complex layer of multitasking, but you have to carefully manage how you do it well. Don't take too much damage, just shoot things when you can, and prioritize hacks when you need to. What takes it a step further is that as the game progresses, you get more enemy variety, which also includes enemy numbers. So you have to learn to deal with huge mobs sometimes, or even just tougher enemies. But on the upside, you also get a variety of weapons and hacking modifications, which is really cool because as this game progresses, you start to see a sort of like emergent gameplay in terms of player creativity. And what I mean by that is you get to choose how you want to engage combat with the enemies. So, for example, there's another mechanic where you build up heat, and you can do a critical shot to do a crap ton of damage to an enemy. Or you can just focus on doing hacking nodes that let you cash in the hack damage by shooting them prior. It's really cool because you get to have this unique variety of how players should approach their gameplay, but also cater to what style of gameplay they want. So I'm fairly certain that everyone's gameplay style will be different. Some of you out there may focus on heat buildup, some of you may just want to focus on hacking, or some of you may want to just focus on shooting instead of just having to do the hacking minigame all the time. What's great about the way Pragmata approaches it is how so far everything seems viable. Everyone can have their own style, everyone can experiment, and it always just seems to work. At least from what I've seen, because I've also just been experimenting with the different mods, with the different combinations, and that's also one of the coolest things is when you see it all come together, it makes the fights worth it. And I will say the combat against the robots in this game is pretty tough. Again, you take a lot of damage and you have to be very careful. That's why they even give you a dodge button, so that way you don't take any damage at all, and it rewards good reaction time as well as good planning. But when you manage to actually if you manage to combine your kit into something that is really strong, that basically bounce off one another, it is extremely rewarding. At first, I usually was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna use pistol. I'm just gonna be very vanilla and see how many enemies I can take out." But then when I started finding hacking nodes that increase damage from like close range, or even looking for mods that do multiple hacks and freeze enemies, and then at that point I would just go in and do like multi damage to try and defeat them as fast as possible. I really enjoy that emergent gameplay, and I kind of enjoy the pressures of the difficulty because it kind of rewards you for being creative and good. There's even a section that does training segments where you get to that the game tests you on specific mods, weapons that you have to use within a specific time frame and space. And so it actually is great because it teaches you about how to use them properly and how to use them effectively. And so doing them, I was able to discover like, oh, this mod can work with this weapon, or this weapon can work with this mod, or hacking node, or such and such. And so it was really fun, and I got to experiment. And what made it great is, again, the difficulty. So as enemies get harder, you have to be more proactive with how you want to use them. And when you use them effectively, and you see basically all these tough enemies who normally, like, if you were to one-on-one, or if you were to use the basic mods and hacking nodes, it wouldn't be as effective. But once you find these combinations, they'll melt like butter, and you're basically rewarded for being just a good player, essentially. And so that's for me what really makes the puzzle shooting, or the shooting hacking portion of this game so fun, is the reward. But what I think is also really cool about trying to reinforce this specific gameplay style is how fast the segments go from one to another. Interestingly enough, I got this sense that Pragmata is actually rooted in a kind of in older game design. And what I mean by this is it's not so much focus on like, the game does go from segment to segment as you just go through each level, but it always feels like the segments are very arcadey. And so for me, it's just going from combat to combat that I always look forward to. And with kind of like an arcade game where it's just nothing but nonstop action, I kind of got that sense with Pragmata. It's not exactly 100% true because you obviously have these story segments and you have these sections that you go through to talk to Diana, as well as like see what's going on the moon. But if you were to actually strip away the story and you see like the level segments, it literally just feels like you're doing a mission, and just going from one gameplay segment to another. And so that's why for me, that specific segmenting feels very arcadey because you just go, and I always just very much look forward to it. The gameplay is great, that it feels addicting. Like I've never felt a game where this is the first time in a while that I've played a game that made me want to go to the next combat, or even like engage with tougher enemies. I think by the end, I was also thinking like, oh, this enemy has like another mechanic that I have to counter. What's the best setup that I could do to take them on? And that's exactly what I was rewarded for, being able to beat the harder enemies using an effective hack, even while also taking on other enemies. was very fun, was just super like my it's like the biggest endorphin rush when you see and when you fight these enemies and you tackle them all together. But yeah, like the combat is so fun. It's I've been described as proactive. It's very multitasking, it's engaging, and I like it because it rewards good gameplay behavior. And if you could it's and it is difficult, I will say, because again, you have to multitask so many things, but it's so fun when you and rewarding when you do get it down. There's other things like collecting things, and again, like what I mentioned earlier, you give stuff to Diana. There's training sims and there's upgrades, but all of that essentially is meant to enhance the core gameplay aspect, which is the shooting, hacking, combat. And man, it's just so refreshing to play this. It's really good, and that's why for me the gameplay is gonna be the star of the show for Pragmata. As for the presentation, I can only really just say it looks good. What I like to call, what I've also been described as NASA punk, but that sort of mecha future vibe, is something I really see a lot in this game. Obviously, you can kind of tell. Oddly enough, I was never really the biggest like near future. That near future aesthetic is something I've never really adhered to, but I'm just happy that I gave Pragmata a chance because now it seems it's actually pretty cool. You really feel that sense of like technology, and I absolutely love that art style in that sense. For the actual technical capabilities of the game, I'm not really the expert. I'm sure you'd have to go see like a graphics expert to run down why this game looks good. But for me, this game just looks really good. I think the other big thing was Diana's hair. I just can't help but notice. It just looks, it's sometimes it like spazzes out a bit in certain scenes, but the fact that you can see the threads of her hair like interacting almost differently, the technology for that is insane, at least just from my perspective. You also kind of see it in Resident Evil 9 as well, and they both use the same RE engine, so there's a reason why they both look similar, and it's really good. But Diana herself just having her long flowing hair, I think is oddly enough a bigger representation of that technology more than like the short hair of Grace, for example. Although Leon is kind of the poster boy for boy band hair in RE9. But so far, in terms of just being a game from 2020 for 2026, it looks amazing. That's all I can really say. The sci-fi look is nailed down. The near futuristic look is nailed down. I couldn't ask for anything more from this specific aesthetic. So yeah, as just a whole package, Pragmata is wonderful. I do like Diana and Hugh with their story component, and for me it's cute. I get to be a dad even though I'm not a dad yet. That component is still fun. But the biggest selling point for me is still the gameplay. I'm a big fan of how fast-paced it is. I'm a big fan of the combination of multitasking, of having to shoot the robots, hack the robots, and avoid their attacks to survive. It's visceral, it's layered, it's complex, that it still makes me want to play it again, actually. I still have to go back and beat the hardest difficulty, but as far as a game that understands what makes it fun to see, or just trying to see what makes it mechanically interesting and innovative, it's great to see that all you really need is to add layers to what more or less is a simple gameplay, but making it complex by adding this layer on top of itself. So hacking, combat, trying to do everything at once makes for very engaging gameplay that's more than just simple shooting. And for me, that's what Pragmata is the biggest selling point. That's not to say though that, you can play this game just for Hugh and Diana, because that's arguably still a good reason to play Pragmata. Again, Hugh and Diana are like father-daughter of the year. They deserve the father-daughter of the year award in video games. But yeah, as just being a game for 2026, Pragmata is easily one of the best. And again, I'm super happy to see a new and fun IP from Capcom. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around. There will be more games to play and more videos coming soon, so please stay tuned if you'd like to see more. But for now, I'll see you all next time.